Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. I'm broadcasting live from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm also broadcasting to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn today. So welcome aboard. My wife Gloria is in the studio. She's monitoring the broadcast and helping me out if we need some assistance. I just put out a comment here, so I'd like to hear comments from those that are attending. Give me some comments or questions, and Gloria will give me a heads up if I miss it, so that'll keep me on track. Now today I'm going to do something for the season. I'm going to do a snow scene. It hasn't snowed here yet, but it's snowing somewhere here in the U.S., so I hope somebody will enjoy this. It's something I'm really looking forward to. So I want to go over to my painting table and let me get started. Okay, this is a little painting I did several years ago at a festival, and I used that as my inspiration. And so I'm going to use that as a starting point today for the painting. It's a little snow scene with some trees and a little bit of background. That's what I used as my inspiration. There's nothing wrong with taking an old painting and then working on it in the future and doing some things with it. So I've transferred that to a little bigger size here to my drawing, my sketch. And I've got the trees in the background. And I've also done a little value study. It's the dark trees in the background and some of the shadow patterns and so forth. So that's my normal routine is I do a drawing and I do a value study to get me planned. Now, I put a broadcast out a couple days ago. I did some masking before I started because there's some masking here, and I used the Incredible White Mask Liquid Frisket. It's the brand I use for my art, and it's a pretty. I put it on with. I used a brush. I used the Incredible. I used the. No, I used the quick stick is what I used. Okay, that's what I used. I can also use it with a brush. There's several ways to put with masking fluid on. Okay, this product is available on my website, everettswatercolors.com. And I also put in some green tape. This is called painter's tape, also to block off some of the trees. So I've got white mask on here to protect some of the white paper, and I'm using the tape here also. So this is the way I got set up. My palette. Let me go over some of my material today. My palette's here with my normal layout of colors, and this is Holbein watercolor paints, and I have Holbein watercolor paints on my website, everettswatercolors.com, and there's 108 different colors. I have about 18 here, and I'm also showing some of those colors on the short videos I'm putting out on a daily basis. I've done a couple of them already, and I'm going to cover all those 108 colors. So you can look forward to seeing that in the future. Now, one of the new brushes I want to introduce here is this is the Hake. It's spelled H-A-K-E, Hake. And a lot of people will call it a hockey stick or whatever, but it's a Hake is what it is. It's a Chinese brush used in the Orient, and it's made out of 100% goat hair. But I'm going to use that today in my painting. I'm going to have this on my website in the future, so you'll be on the lookout for that. But I'm going to demonstrate a little bit today. You'll see what it does. Also, I'm going to be introducing two new brushes here. One's the Black Velvet from Silver Black Velvet, the half-inch flat brush, and it has a little point on the side for scraping. And this is a number 8 Silver Brush Black Velvet. Okay, these are going to be part of my my plein air kit because these are nice and portable, but I'm also going to use it today in a painting for some small areas. And I'm going to use the spray bottle today later, and there's my pile of brushes. So let me go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is use the Hake. I'm going to put it in water. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the paper. So I wet the paper. It'll be a little wet on wet technique here in the beginning. I'm going to wet it all the way down. So this Hake brush makes it very easy to spread the water and large paint. Look, for larger paintings, you need a bigger brush. So this is about the biggest brush you can get. So I'm spreading the water out very evenly here. I've got my board elevated about 10 degrees because I want the paint to flow down. So I've got my painting board elevated about 10 or 15 degrees at an angle. Okay, so I'm going to use the Hake brush and also I need a towel to keep it dried out. First color I'm going to put on, I'm going to start putting the sky background colors. So I'm going to start in the background, and this is yellow ochre, and I'm going to put a nice warm color in the sky. Start out with. I'm going to have the sun coming from the right to the left. Got a little gold in the sky. And I'm going to put a little bit of that glow into the landscape, which is the snow. A little bit of glow down here. Okay, and the next color I'm going to use is ultramarine blue. So I'll give you my list of colors here. In the background, I'm using yellow ochre and ultramarine blue. So ultramarine blue, just a little bit. I don't need too much. I'm going to start over here, right across that yellow ochre, and I'm going to put in some of that into the sky. Like a snow on the ground, so it's going to be a little overcast day, so that's why I'm putting a little bit of that, a little bit of gray up in the sky here. A little bit warmer off to the right side. So the sun's coming from this way with a little bit of gray in the sky. Okay, so now I got to let that dry a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the hair dryer. Just get a little. It's going to dry up a little bit. Now I'm going to take some more. These background trees, I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of ultramarine back here. I'm going to put these are going to be background trees. I'm putting it right into the wet. And I'm putting it on top of the wet because what I want to have a soft edge. So I'm putting it right on top of that wet background. So it'll come out as a soft edge up here because they're background trees is what they are. Background trees. We'll put that in. Okay. A little bit. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to introduce some more. I'm going to paint the snow. And I'm going to use a little bit of cobalt blue. So my colors here for the snow is cobalt blue and cerulean blue. Those two blues right there, cobalt and cerulean blue for the snow. And mix up a little bit of cerulean. Don't need much of it, just a little bit. Just a little hint of the cerulean blue here in the foreground. Okay, I'm going to dry this. Use the blow dryer again, a hair dryer. It'll continue to dry. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce the background trees. I've got some background trees I want to put on. I'm going to use ultramarine blue, peacock blue, and burnt sienna. So I got some background trees I want to put ahead of those there's two sets of background trees. The one I put down first, I'm going to put another set of background trees. Ultramarine, peacock blue, burnt sienna. So I'm going to take another brush to pull that out. This is the peacock blue over here in the corner. We'll need quite a bit of that. Burnt sienna. And I'm going to mix these two together. And that, if you'll notice, I'll put here's a little piece of test paper. It turns out to be it's almost an olive green. Okay, nice olive green. So peacock blue versus burnt sienna. Mix up some more. I'm using a Holbein synthetic 1/2 inch here for mixing some of the paints. So I'm using a Holbein paintbrush also. Holbein 1/2 inch. Okay, going back to the Hake. Now I pick up those colors and I'm going to go ahead and put in some of those dark background colors. These are the background trees. Now I'm varying the color. I'm putting burnt sienna mixed in with that peacock blue is giving me a nice dark green, but I'm also mixing it with more burnt sienna in some places. Other places I'm putting more peacock blue to give a variety, a nice variety of colors. Now you notice I'm using the Hake brush here to load all these. This is a large area to cover with paint. So this Hake brush really does a great job of coverage. And I can use it to I can use the tip of the brush. The edge of the brush gives me a nice coverage of area, but I can use the edge of the brush, the tip of the brush, to do a little detail at the top, give me a little edge. So it's a very versatile brush, very versatile. I'm going to dry this. I'm using a tissue to pick up some of the excess moisture, and also gives me a little variation in the colors back here. Gives me little dark and light areas. So I'm using a tissue to give me a little variation in the value, a little value change. So I don't have all one solid dark area back there. I can have a little modulation using the Kleenex. I'll dry a little bit more. Okay, now comes the unveiling. I want to take off the, I'm going to remove the tape. Okay, that's one large tree. There's another large tree. So today's tip is going to be how to save whites. And of course, the biggest thing about saving whites is to either paint around it, which would be very hard to do in this painting here, or to mask it out. And there's several ways to mask. Here I use tape and also use the masking fluid. So today's tip is how to save your whites. For this kind of painting, it's very important if you're going to do an interesting snow scene. I'll touch the paper. I got to do a little more drying. With some more I'll pick off. Yeah, I'm trying to mop up any excess moisture, and also use it with the blow dryer. Okay, get it nice and dry. Okay, I'm checking it with the back of my hand. It feels pretty good. It should feel warm. If it feels cool, then it's still damp, so you need to keep drying it. And I think we're okay to get started here. Now I'm going to take the masked fluid pickup, the mask pickup, which is another tool to remove the masking fluid. I'm going to take off some of the masking fluid off of some of these branches. This takes it off very easily. And some of these smaller trees I have here, I want to take the masking fluid off. Yeah, the official name of this is the rubber cement pickup, because the masking fluid is really a rubber product that covers the paper, and then you use the rubber cement pickup to pick it up. Rubber cement pickup. And I use my other hand to peel, and you can feel if the masking fluid is still there, because you can feel the texture on the paper. And there's one more tree over here I want to get first. Okay. We had did another video a couple of videos ago about putting masking fluid on. I do have white mask videos on my website, everettswatercolors.com. Also on YouTube. You can go on YouTube, Everett's Watercolors, and I have a lot of demo videos on there. One of them is masking. I have several on masking fluid and masking techniques. Okay, now this is a special technique I'm going to show you today, which I think is very unique. I'm going to use a palette knife to add the paint to the painting. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn these trees here into white birches. So I'm going to take some of this burnt sienna, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue. And I'm going to make a bead on the bottom of the palette knife. You can see that. Let's make a bead of paint. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to let me show you the technique. You just go in here and you put it on the brush and you just move it to the side, just like this. And this will give the impression of a white birch tree. And I can pick up a little darker color, put in some darker areas. Okay, load the palette. Use the palette knife. And you go along the edge of the tree. This makes a very effective impression of a white birch tree. And it's a very easy technique. It takes a little bit of practice to load this palette knife, and then to go along put it in the put it on the position. It takes a little practice, just like brush strokes. What I'll do now is take the I'm going to take the brush a little bit and add some more definition here on the trees. Here I'm using the this is the Holbein number 6 round, which is another synthetic brush. I'm gonna get some brown. I'm gonna get some brown color on these limbs, these smaller trees over here. So I'm using a smaller brush. I could use my rigger brush, but this number six round is a nice size brush to use. You know, I'm working quickly here just because it's a demonstration, but taking your time and practicing the technique on a painting like this is well worthwhile because it comes out to be a very effective painting. It looks just like birch trees. Let me go back and do some more. I'm going to load my palette up, load my brush, load my palette knife up, and just go out and just drag it out. The depth in the painting is going to be done by the values of the snow and also, of course, the size of the trees. As I go back, the trees get a little bit smaller. So that gives depth. And also, the size of the trees gets smaller as they go back. Okay, I'm going to take this half-inch Holbein brush and load it up with a little bit of blue, a little bit of cerulean blue. And I'm going to paint a little shadow on this side here because the sun's coming from this direction, so this will be the shadow side of the tree. So I'm going to put a little bit of blue in there to give an idea of its shadow. And this one over here. A little shadow on the branches out here. A smaller tree. Now there's some other trees here in the background, which I'm going to also add in. There's some as we go back into the landscape, the trees get smaller. You're further away, they get smaller. So that gives the impression of depth in the painting, the sizing. Okay. What I'm going to do now is add some shadows. I think what I'm going to do though, I'm going to take the Hake brush. I'm going to take the Hake brush. And I'm going to take up some of that color I had before, the peacock blue and the burnt sienna. I'm going to go back in here and put in some more shadow. I'm going to put some more background trees back here. Put some evergreens, some larger trees back here. Some of these trees in the background are also covered with snow, so that's why you see some of the white showing. We got snow back there on the treetops. Yeah, just adding more detail, a little more, putting in more shadows here in the background. This also gives a little more texture in the background with this brush. I think I'll dry that off a little bit. I'm gonna add a little deer into the scene here. This is a painting I did a while back, probably a year or so ago. A little deer, a little Bambi. So I decided to put that in the painting. And just lost my rubber cement pickup here. So I messed him out. And I will take the small brush, a little bit of burnt sienna, yellow ochre. And we'll put the little figure in here. Yeah, let that dry. Okay, well, while the little deer is drying, then I'm going to put some shadow patterns on the trees. And what I'm going to do here is, I like this, going back to the 1/2 inch Holbein brush. I'm going to mix up a little bit of shadow pattern. My my shadow color is going to be quinacridone violet and ultramarine blue. So I want it to be a violet, but I want to have a little more coolness to it. So I want to put a little more blue to it. The violet gives you a warm color, but the blue cools it down just a little bit. Now the sun's coming from here, so I'm going to be coming this way with shadows. So I'm going to come down here with a little bit of shadow pattern from this tree here. This tree here will have one. And I don't want those too dark, so we'll blot up with just a little bit, blot up the color just slightly. I'm using a tissue to control the value. So the sun's coming this way, so the angle will be a little bit more on this side. Two big trees in the front. I'll take a lighter mixture there. I'm just putting a little more water into that mixture, get a lighter value. There'll be some shadows back here coming off these other trees, so I'll put a little bit of shadow back here. These background trees. And it might be something over here. A bush or a tree might be casting a shadow off to the side here. Something on here side, and maybe down here. Okay, I'm gonna take the rigger. This is the Holbein rigger number 4, and mix up a little bit of burnt sienna and yellow ochre. I'm going to put in some weeds, some grasses growing here. Put a little warm color here in the foreground. These are weeds growing in the woods here on this hill where the snowbank is. And I'm going to put some weeds back here. Just as we go back, the weeds get a little bit smaller. Again, a little indication of depth. Take you right back to the impact area. Impact area will be here, be where the little Bambi sitting back here in the woods, having a good time. Okay. Let me go. I think you're seeing part of the picture. I have to put some more branches on this little shadow here. And before I finish, this finishes all the real finishing touch I want to do here is this is my palette in a bottle dot sprayer, and I have Chinese white paint in here, Chinese white. So what I'm going to do in order to improve the snow scene is I'm going to have a little bit of snow. So I'm going to take the spray bottle. The spray bottles I have on my website, everettswatercolors.com, and I have a whole set. Last week I had a presentation on the spray bottle, the dot spray bottle and fine mist. So these spray bottles are located on my website, everettswatercolors.com. And what I do when I spray, I use a very light touch, just a light tapping motion to give me that little dot pattern. And this is these spray bottles are unique, and they're only individually sold at Everett Watercolors, exclusively sold. Out in the bottle, dot spray and fine mist. They come forward to drop. We make the drops a little larger. Okay, I got it snowing on the snow scene. Okay, let me take you back over to the main here. Okay, that was a lot of fun. I did the snow scene, I think, with the little deer in the background. I thought that was interesting, and also the shadow patterns with the different kind of brushwork. I think the spray bottles technique is fine, but I think the biggest one I really enjoyed doing and showing you was using a palette knife. The palette knife with the birch sienna and so forth to make those birch trees. And I think they really make a realistic looking tree, and with a little bit of practice and getting down, take some paper out, a little bit of practice, they become very effective. So I really enjoyed doing that, and I think you'll all give me some comments about it. I'd like to hear from you what you think about it, and see what and get some comments on maybe some other techniques that I can show you that you'd like to see. Okay, I'm going to be back next week, next Thursday, before Christmas, and I've got a couple other things I want to do. A nice big painting I want to do on next Thursday. So what I want to do right now is I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, a happy season, a safe season, and you all take care of yourself. And if you have to travel, again, be careful. Take special care on your travel and on your trips and so forth. But have a good vacation or have a good time, and happy holidays. So I'll see you on my next video.